Poet Laureate. And tonight she is joined by a special guest, Matteo, who will also share his poetry with us. So please give a warm welcome to Poet Laureate Cynthia J. Patton.
Hi everyone. My birthday was earlier this month, so
Happy birthday.
so thank you. So April has always been an important month for me. Can you guys all hear me? I feel like this is not working. Okay, before we get started on the autism part of the event, I've got a couple poems related to the library. Paul asked me several months back to write a poem. Let me give you a bit of the old library, which was down the street, which was just was closed actually in 2004 when this library was built. And the Poet Laureate program started in 2005, and that was built in 2004. So it kind of just came a little bit too early to have its own poem when it had the groundbreaking. So because I was reading during National Library Week, Paul asked me to write a poem for the library, an official poem. And just a couple months ago, I wrote a eulogy for the old library for the groundbreaking ceremony for the new City Council Chambers and Emergency Operations Center. So I'm going to read the eulogy for the old library, the ode to this library, and then to kind of get us into our autism thing, I also wrote a poem, a bonus poem, about my early experiences taking my daughter, who also has, Katie, who has autism, taking her to the library here. So, without further ado, this first poem is called Eulogy for the Old Library, 1966 to 2004, demolition in 2018. As a child, I came to this spot every week to practice the religion of books. I prayed in paragraphs, worshipped in words, so many words. They echo in the halls of memory, spilling off pages, flooding floors, carving canyons in the still blooming garden of my mind. Words polished my heart, changed its color, left deposits that provided raw material to construct cathedrals. The building seemed large in 1968, packed with possibility, brimming with books. The room smelled fresh, a river after heavy rain, and I gulped it down, thirsted for more. Today we say goodbye to this hall of stone and glass. In its place will rise another, a phoenix from the rubble. Commonwealth of community, temple of democracy, shrine to the enduring power of words. May this continue to be a place that inspires, a place of possibility, diversity, tolerance, ideas, and of course, words. So many wicked, wacky, wondrous words. Thank you. It did. When I was a kid here, when I moved to Livermore, we started going to that library, and it smelled new. I had no idea how new it actually was, because it was only a few years old when I started going, back when I was 4.5. Okay, so this is the ode to the Livermore Library, the current library. And I'll explain this poem after I read it. So this is, without further ado, Ode to the Livermore Library. How many places can take you backward and forward in time, can transport you to a coffee plantation in Kenya, after hours at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the slopes of Kilimanjaro, a segregated courtroom in Alabama, a phantom toll booth, a Colombian riverboat with a woman for whom you waited 60 years, the Yorkshire moors, or a sod house on the prairie. You can solve a crime in Sweden, hunt a mighty whale, flounder in a Chippewa love triangle, transcend time and identity on both sides of the Pacific. endure as a slave, learn magic at Hogwarts, fly kites in Kabul, live in a mouse-infested trailer in Arches, survive a tsunami in Sri Lanka, brave artistic expression as a Hasidic Jew, serve as a red-robed handmaid in the Republic of Gilead. Flee the Dust Bowl, steal books in Nazi Germany, ride a sandworm across the deserts of Dune, marry and lose 3 husbands, rescue a co-worker from cannibals in the Amazon, explore the 9 Mile Valley with wolves, unravel mysteries with Watson, plant Suncrest peaches in the Central Valley, grow up poor or rich, gay, straight, or queer, get sick, get well, experience disability, infertility, catastrophic stroke, or mental illness. Where else can you explore the farthest reaches of the universe and still be home in time for dinner? Borrow tools, rent DVDs, access the internet, take a workshop, learn to read, see art, meet an author or a friend. Study quantum physics, statistics, sociology, even poetry. Geography, astronomy, paleontology, it's all here and more. Anything you can imagine, you can experience at a library. And then, I don't know if he wants to use this for bingo or something else later, but all the various things in here are books that were important to me when I was growing up or in college. And so I've got a list of all the books mentioned in the poem. So you can have a quiz or something, see if people can guess all this. Some are kind of obvious, some are a little more obscure, maybe not so much. But okay, and then this is going to kind of segue into the autism awareness portion of the evening. I have a poem, because libraries are so important to me. When my daughter was young, I started bringing her to the library here, and because my daughter has autism, she didn't quite get the concept of what a library was. So anyway, this poem is kind of about that experience. It's called Once Again We Visit the Library. Despite multiple trips, you cannot fathom the library's purpose. How to explain in simple terms how this differs from a bookstore or that coffee shop we both love with its crayons and overflowing shelves? More importantly, how do I convey what this place means to me, your mother, with its wealth of knowledge and mythology? As always, you gravitate toward the video kiosk, and I long to tell you about the card catalog with its narrow wooden drawers, yellowed files, and dewy decimal system, the stubby pencil I'd use to transcribe the orderly numbers and letters, manila pockets with strings of multicolored dates, a strange calculus of popularity and history. You will never see macrame plant hangers near the librarian's manual checkout counter, or know a world without barcodes and databases. A library is a place of language and words, yet you think in pictures, music, and colors. Each of us an immigrant in the other's native land. Okay, so this is not a poem by me. This is from the book A Light in the Attic by Shel Silverstein, but I just always love this and just think it's such a great kind of explanation of what it's like to find out that you have a child with autism. It's called Signals. When the light is green, you go. When the light is red, you stop. But what do you do when the light turns blue with orange and lavender spots? And that's, kind of what the world of autism is like in a very little nutshell. I don't know that Shel Silverstein knew that when he wrote that, but so I'm going to read, back in 2016, I published this book, Across the Aqueous Moon, Travels in Autism. It's about being, adopting my daughter. It's kind of a story in poems about adopting my daughter, finding out that she had autism, going through a divorce, and then, dealing with her autism and starting to date again, and towards the end, ending up in a more hopeful place. So, to start with, I'm going to read this poem. This is, obviously all of these poems are mostly about my daughter. I'm not going to read any dating ones tonight. Sorry. If you want to read about that, you have to buy a copy. Because this is not the weirdest thing. But anyway, this one's called Bath Time. You slide in the tub for silent stretches, push your head under so only your nose peeks out. Listen to lyrics in liquid lapping. My love is a song I long to sing. Instead, I sway quietly, watching you float in strawberry-scented steam. One night you hum. I peel the tune from my brain, store it in a black lacquered box labeled Katie while you drift in tepid water. Galaxies swirl behind pale gray eyes. What stars are birthed in those slippery, silvery hours? Okay, and different people favor, obviously different poems. Even me, even this necklace is just determined that. Anyway, this one has always been one of my favorites because it's kind of also a good summary of the autism parenting experience. Pioneers. I had no idea when nurses lowered you into shaking newborn hands how far we would journey. Pioneers huddled against the howl of wolves. We followed a weedy, rutted track into the dark unknown. Possessions abandoned like cast-off toys, bones hidden in waves of grass, crushed beneath a fathomless sun. Time peeled away the others. Fear and frustration swallowed our faltering steps. Too far to turn back, too far to go. And, yeah, I'll read this one. Several years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Rupert Isaacson, who is the author of The Horse Boy, and he's also featured in a documentary of the same title. And my friends Barb and Sharon, we were all going to go together, and I had the foresight to buy my tickets in advance online, and I got there, and I was literally shoved into the very last seat in the movie theater in Berkeley, and they had to go to the second showing. So I sat there waiting for them to watch the movie after I had already seen it, and I was chatting with Rupert, and we both had kids on the spectrum, and he said, so what was it like for you when your daughter was diagnosed? And I was kind of thinking about it, and he said, for me it was like being hit in the face with a baseball bat. And I was like, wow, okay, that's an interesting description. I'm like, no, it wasn't like that for me. But I couldn't really describe it at the time. So anyway, this poem is sort of my response to him. Diagnosis. The sky cracks, light skids across a frozen sea. Words fall, an axe splitting life forever in two. My soul, a glacier dissolved, a tsunami of senses, fire birthed in the waning loom of darkness nearly extinguished. Fear consumes. The doctor talks, yet I cannot hear. Too much static in my brain, mirroring the static in yours. I stand woozy, suddenly anxious to leave, cradling my fetal self and the perfect sphere of pain that is this unimagined you. Outside, there is a party in the plaza. I wander, gripping your slender wrist, wobbling as I learn to walk again. Okay, and then this one is called Simply Love. Some days my daughter shrugs off my touch, days when we scream, days when we cry, days when the weight of fairy princess panties must be shed like flayed skin. I do not hear I love you. Mommy is a noun, not a name. I'm pinched more often than kissed, and yet I feel loved. I watch her curled in a hammock swing, a marsupial rocking in a twilight dream, and wonder what the future holds. Here is what I do know. It does not take words or even touch to love. All it takes is a heart willing to be as boundless as the sea. And then there are some interesting juxtapositions in this book that I would like to take credit for, but I didn't realize them until after I got the manuscript back and I was editing it, about what is love, what isn't love, when words are helpful, when they're not helpful, when they're used and not used. So anyway, I'm going to skip over a couple of these though.
Okay.
And this one is called The Secret Garden, which I've always found to be a good metaphor for autism, or at least kids that are on the less verbal end of the spectrum. The Secret Garden. Your mind is a secret garden hidden behind thick, smooth walls. It's filled with lush blooms, exotic plants, trees bent under the weight of ripe fruit. I thought if I waited, the door would one day open. But now it occurs to me, what if there is no key? Or worse, no door? Is it enough to know there's a garden inside, just out of reach? Okay, then I'm going to read one more out of here, and then I'm going to read a couple new poems. This one is called A Reflection of Gratitude, and I always feel compelled when I'm reading in Livermore to point out that this did not happen in the Livermore School District. It happened in another school district. It happened, it just didn't happen here. A reflection on gratitude. The woman from the school tells me to be glad. You talk. Other parents covet what I possess. Brazen indignation burns as slow-witted shame slithers down my darkened spine. You talk a bit, and I'm grateful, so terribly grateful for that small mercy, but is it wrong to thirst for more? I want words bubbling over and spilling onto the floor, filling me up, filling you up. I want to know the contents of your skull the way I know my own garden, still finding blossoms I never realized I had. I want what so many take for granted, a simple conversation, a joke that falls flat, an argument over nothing. Every time you say something new, I throw a party in my head, the next moment guilty, remembering all you didn't say, all you struggled to express. I can't reconcile these twin impulses, half Mardi Gras, half somber wake, yet life is sweeter when paired with the bitter. Even when I grasp for more, I am graced with you. My daughter has always had a profound speech delay. She's slightly more verbal than Matteo.
How old is she now?
She's 10 months, I think 10 months younger than Matteo. So she's 14. She just turned 14. Anyway, but she also has a lot of sensory integration issues, which has made public school somewhat of a challenge. So after bouncing around between district and district, the Livermore School District and I, we started exploring non-public schools. And yes, did you want to? No? Okay. So anyway, this is part of that journey of finding, the appropriate school for my daughter. It's called The Center. It's a nondescript building in a questionable part of a questioning town. It could have been an office or even a home. In fact, it was both. Now it's a school, Front door locked beneath tattered awning. No sign indicates what occurs inside. The stairs are dirty, walls marked with pen and swirls of pink neon paint, and holes, lots of holes. The holes don't bother me, not exactly. I have a few in my house too, except mine are patched and these displayed like awards. The holes are narrow, disjointed, the ceiling hangs a bit too low, the lights are dim, windows small and few. I want to like this place, try hard to see past the grime, the diaper changing station, the broken doors. We don't use restraint, the director smiles, but I see chain link and harnesses here. Girls bus tables while boys play basketball. There are forms of restraint beyond the physical. A teacher asks a group about their parents, then corrects herself. I meant caretakers. Yeah, caretakers. I can't focus, can't process what this means. Instead, I study the art. Colors exploding in frenzied dance, leaking muted despair. Perhaps I'm projecting. I want to like this place, but I can't send my daughter here. I want her surrounded by hope, light, expectations, and dreams, not trapped on a dead-end street with a back door permanently ajar. Okay, I'm going to read. Okay, I'm going to read two more poems, and then we're going to get to Matteo. This one is called Hope is a Funny Thing. Just when you think it's gone, a mourning dove lands on the putting bench outside the smeary kitchen window, pale blue feathers of revelation floating on creamy waves of taupe and gray. You study its movement surreptitiously while drinking coffee at the sink, marveling at the miracle of a mourning dove building a nest of tangled twigs in a broken terracotta pot. And then one last one, this is called Aiming for the Sky. You have swung higher than the bar for longer than I can remember. Children stare, teens urge you to jump, adults lecture. It's only unsafe if you fall, I say with a smile. Other times that you are aiming for the sky. They glare, uncomprehending. Sometimes I say, hold on, for their sake, not yours. I watch now only to marvel, how a playground swing alters the rhythm of a day, how physics merges into art, how effortless you make it look. Secretly, I love that you do one thing better than anyone. For a child who works to communicate, who struggles far too much, it is a gift beyond compare. Okay, so one other tiny little poem. This is from the book Half-Life by Megan O'Rourke. In his green eyes, I hear his soul muttering like the ocean at its farthest reaches. Whenever I read that poem, I always think of Matteo, even though Matteo's eyes, I'm pretty sure, are blue, not green. Anyway, Matteo is now, he's still 14? Okay, he's 14. But I've known him since he was 3. He and my daughter were in preschool together. So, unlike my daughter Katie, who has always had a profound speech delay, Matteo started with normal language development, and then one day his words began slipping away. And within a few months, weeks, months, they were simply gone. His mother, Annette here, of course, was desperate to get those words back, and she tried everything. I will attest to that. I am in awe of her. She tried literally everything. And Matteo did regain some of his words, but for the most part, he remains pre-verbal. So in 2015, Okay, 15, Annette and Matteo began learning rapid prompting method. With RPM, a person uses a letter board, which looks like basically like a black alphabet stencil, and you point to the letters one by one. Annette says it changed their lives. After 8 months, Matteo wrote a list that I'm going to have you read, and he's still started writing poetry. He started having conversations, open-ended conversation, and let me tell you, if you've waited 12 years to have a conversation with your kid, that's a pretty amazing thing. So anyway, and as you can see, he's now got 2 books, and did you just tell me that he has a third that's forthcoming? So, without further ado, I am just, I am so proud of this kid, and it's such an honor for me to have him here with me today. Anyway, so this is Matteo Musso and his mom, Annette.
Hi. E-B-E-R-Y.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi. I am. Yes. So happy to be
here.
Nice.
so happy to have you. Talk about parents.
Talk about parents receiving a D-M-I.
Different. Civic.
D-M-I.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Different.
talk about parents receiving a different, go ahead.
Bit.
Talk about parents receiving a different bit of news at T-H-E, the, D-O, and C-T-O, doctor, T-H-A, that, D-A, that day, O, of, D-I-A-G-N-O-S-I. That day of diagnosis. Go ahead. I-H-E-A-R. Heard it. T-O-O. I heard it too. Go ahead.
And
Then
everything. Changed.
Then everything changed.
Mom. Dad. Cried. A lot.
Mom and Dad cried a lot.
Finish it up. And enjoy that word.
I knew
Then
then
that
I
yeah.
had a lot of W-O-R, a lot of work, H-E-A, ahead of M-E. Then I had a lot of work ahead of me. had, O, F, ant, I, C, I, and A, L, L. They had officially S, I, G, N, E, signed, U, up, F, and O, for, and my, C, L, A, S, S. They had officially signed up for my class.
Finish your thought.
R, E, G, I, S, T, R, A, T, I, O. Registration, R, E, M, A, I, N. Remains, O, P, E. Open, A, and, T, H, E, R, and there are M, A, and many, Q, U, A, L, I, F, I, E, qualified, P, R, O, F, E, S, S, O, R, professors, go ahead, R, E, C, E, I, V, I, and receiving, T, H, E, I, there, D, I, A, G, N, O, S, I, diagnosis, T, O, O. And there are many professors receiving their diagnosis too. That's how he views these types of human beings that are experiencing life differently than we are. And it's quite a trip. I'm not a poet, so I cannot express myself the way Cynthia did. It's absolutely beautiful. So I let him do all that. Plus, I'm still his student, as we all are, of those we love around us, right?
You did it.
And we're in their class, and they're running to the registrar and dropping it, by the way. We're in it. Gotta go till the end, right? And it's been the most fascinating and beautiful learning and growth that I could have ever imagined. So, Matteo, after about 8 months, he did write the top 10 things that he wants the world to know about autism, because that's one of the first things he said. Mom, I want to write a book 3 months into self-expression on the board. And that is where this Handbook of Us comes from. It took a year and a half
The
to
cup
produce.
up. The cup.
Yeah, took a year and a half to produce.
The cup up.
Throw it away if you want to.
No.
In it,
Throw it
for the
away.
first 6 days.
Throw it
of-
away.
Yeah, go ahead, babe. Of doing this RPM and the first words that I heard from my son. As I was in the corner trying to breathe and hyperventilating, thank goodness the teacher, Lene, was recording it, because that's where we got
That's
the
good.
transcripts. So it's pretty miraculous. If you to read just that part, it's pretty fun, to say the least. So that's where this top 10 list comes, and they're available back there for you. I added my top 10 learnings at that time, so you get both. When we travel around and do talks like this about autism, this blows people's minds, and a lot of questions just come pouring from the audience regarding this. Cynthia asked if we would read the poem that Teo became the Student Poet of the Month in January, and the criteria was fire and ice. That's all Cynthia said. It has to be about fire and ice. Let her rip. No special form, no anything. Okay? So this is called Hot Times in Our World, and ironically, it was written the morning of the State of the Union. What? The morning of the State of the Union back in January. So, times are here, opinions fly. Go out the door, look to the sky. We all are living in this place. Why is it hard to respect one's space? You think one way and I another. Needless to say, you're still my brother. That's why we're put here so close by, to learn we're different, you and I. So many are fighting and more just feud. Disgust and judgment they eat as food. And then we wonder why we're sad and reflect on times when we were glad. There's always been and always will be things on which we'll disagree. The question becomes, how will we live? And from our side, what will we give? Let's drop our need to win-win-win and let our compromise begin. The need to dominate who you are with disturbs the balance that is our gift. Within each heart there lies a passion, a fire that burns us into action. But don't forget to pack the ice that keeps us cool amidst our strife. He's noticing all the family feuds that are happening and what conversations are banned in which social circles and things like that. So it's interesting. It's one of the things. We hear everything, we listen to everything, and we're always paying attention. And Matteo can recall things from the day he was diagnosed. He can recall things when he was 2 and 3 years old. Ironically, that comes out of here, even before then. So he is always listening. He wrote one for Autism Awareness Month. He does write one a year and puts it on his website. And this one is called Being Autistic. I am autistic, but what does that mean? It means I'm full of so much that's unseen. It means that I'm different than most of the crowd. Should I be embarrassed or stand up real proud? I guess that I'd like to be just the latter, and I work hard on it, but what does it matter? We are who we are is my mantra inside. Don't worry so much about blending and pride. I thank God each day for that little voice that reminds me each day that I have a choice. You're perfect, my boy, says a much louder one. I'm proud of you and of what I have done. I've created some humans who are loving and kind, who are brilliant and unique, who give sight to the blind. Autistics are teachers that society craves to open their eyes to more simple ways. We have no choice but to figure it out, how to find peace and what life is about. Hurt tummies, loud sounds that escape from our mouths, incessant screaming and jumps up and down. Trapped thoughts held hostage, intelligence waiting for someone to see through the facade that's prevailing. Purposeful bodily actions we share, all messages for you to receive, if you dare. You may not want it, many do not, but we'll keep on sharing, just give it a thought. It may require some action from you, a deep interchange or acceptance that's new. We're persistent and strong, relentless some say, also sensitive and knowing, but that's hidden away. We want to have friends, but require some things, like patience and excitement of gifts that we bring. Society wants us, they may just forget. They want some reminders of things that have slipped. Speaking without requiring a word, tweet with your actions and heart like a bird. Let's open our hearts and release some more love. For everyone waiting, we give gentle shoves. We might not be present in the usual way, but what do you want? We're not made that way. Happy Autism Awareness Month. Let's open up to all the possibilities life presents. Don't be afraid. You're safe. We don't have to all be the same. Autistics forge new possibilities each day. We'll help you. You just have to let us. Let's stay. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we were in Minnesota, and he had 5 gigs, as we call them. And one of the biggest ones that was so thrilling was that he spoke to about 350 employees of the Hammer organization, which is the largest group in Minnesota that trains employees to work in group homes. And what do you think about that? T-H-E. They, W-E.
Finish your thought.
They were S-O-M. Some.
Finish your thought.
Yeah. Of. T-H. The. M-O-S. Most. A. A-M-A-Z-I-N, amazing, E-N-E-R-I-G-N. There was some of the most amazing energy, and there really were 200 of them for the morning training and another 150 for the evening for those that were working during the day. And when we were flying home, he wrote this letter to them, well, a letter and then a poem. I'm just going to read the poem. But I have to tell you, when Matteo's pacing around and he's making his sounds and, whatever, and then he gets up and he starts sharing information like this, there are jaws that drop. And we're speaking to people who have worked in group homes with nonverbal people for years. And they were just going, you've got to be
Is this
kidding.
group homes with autistic children?
All, yeah, autistic people, but also other special needs as well. So, yeah, it's kind of fun to see the trials go like that, and then they gasp and whatever. But what happened is that a young woman, she was sobbing out in the hallway after it, sobbing. And the director of programming was with me, and we walked up, and I'm like, are you okay? And she goes, Matteo, I just didn't know. I feel so guilty. That's not how I've been approaching the 4 people in my care. I just didn't know. And I said, well, this is not about making you feel guilty or trying to provoke that. It is about not knowing yesterday, but knowing now, and what are you going to do with it tomorrow? And that's our whole message when we're out talking to different groups. And so she goes, but I don't even get to go to work today. I have to wait until tomorrow. The program director's like, right? So they got people that are excited to take some new attitudes to work. And so he wrote this to them, and it got published in their newsletter today, this morning, as a matter of fact. It's called They Came Today. They came in today to assure our care. They knew that they'd find me waiting there. What energy will they bring with them today? What will we do? Just watch TV or play? I wonder if they have realized yet that inside my head such deep thoughts are kept. And inside my heart different things live, such colors of thanks for all that they give. They may not have known those things yesterday, but today is brand new. They'll know it, I pray. I may not be able to tell them with words what's trapped in this vessel. It sounds absurd. There's brilliance and yearning, a thirst for knowledge. There's intelligence trapped that's worthy of college. There's an artist, a singer, a gymnast, a poet, and one who loves people, but just can't show it. A teacher is in here who's earned a degree, but not in math or biology. My degree has been earned in a liberal art whose textbook is written from deep in the heart. Be kind and courageous, give of yourself, put books about judging back on the shelf. Attend graciously the classes taught by professors of the heart you didn't know that you sought. Assume the intelligence and competence in me, and then you'll be shown who you're meant to be. If you so desire, that is, way down deep, you'll recognize our gifts, no more secrets we'll keep. Discard the box that has trained you so well, forget right and wrong ways of communicating, and tell everyone you know there are more ways to live and more ways to love and still more ways to give. They jumped out of bed, eager to greet the new day and experience all it has to offer, for it is a gift of opportunity for you and for all those who get to enjoy you. And bright colors of gold, blue, and green surrounded them like a colorful cloud of peace, and they felt our thanks. Wow.
No.
And then, did you read this book?
I don't know if we have time.
So beautiful.
Is it long?
I
No.
love this book.
This is grandma here, so
I
think we can handle it. I think we know where you can find them. I had no idea Matteo could do art, because I don't. But anyway, so we have this wonderful teacher who is in town here, and she is working on art with Matteo. So now this is the first book that came out, and the second one just went to the publisher yesterday. So it's kind of fun. It's called Loveland, a place where the heart is king. Once upon a time, there was lots of right and wrong in the land. Having lots of eye contact was right, but avoiding it was wrong and can be considered just plain disrespectful. As a kid, being constantly obedient was right, but finding a way to calm yourself in a way that didn't hurt others was wrong. Saying hello and goodbye with words was right, but just wishing them well with your heart was wrong. That one still kills me every time. Did you say hi to them? Did you say goodbye? Say goodbye. Right, I still do it. I'm getting better though. I'm gonna put this page up all over the house. Keeping quiet unless you're speaking intelligibly was right, but letting out pent-up energy with creative Martian sounds was wrong. Fitting in was right, but standing out was wrong. Making progress in menial skills was right, but being taught meaningful academics if you don't speak was wrong. Playing with kids your age in their way was right, but just hanging out and enjoying their company and entertaining ways was wrong. Social skills class, social skills class, social skills class. We drag them to those all the time, and then out this comes, and like, imitating others was right, but originality was wrong. Who in the land was graced with such power to determine right from wrong? Is there only room for one way to exist, or might there be another place to visit? A land where love determines right from wrong. A land where compassion determines reaction. A land where acceptance is king and rules the land with love. A land where standing out is revered as brave and creative. This land can exist in every heart. You need only to open it up and go for a visit. Then choose the land in which you'll live your life. But be ready. If you choose the land of love and acceptance, you'll never want to leave. Amen.